Thanks everyone for joining today for our webinar to present the Strencom SD-WAN solution powered by VeloCloud. My name is Darren Walsh. I'm a business development manager here in Strencom. We're an Irish-owned telecoms company specialising in cloud, connectivity, networking and security. So during this webinar, we will present our SD-WAN solution and detail how this can be of benefit to your company. At the end of the presentation, we'll also have a Q&A. So if there's any questions at the time, our specialists here will be happy to answer. Alternatively, if you wish to send questions to me during the presentation, you can use the chat function and I'll ask the questions for you at the end here. So right now, I'm going to pass you over to the Strencom Director of Strategic Partnerships, Dan Croak, to provide further details here on the webinar. Okay.
Hi, Luca. I think there's a couple slides in there for me, is there? Welcome, everyone. Thanks for taking the time out to take a look at this. I've only just two little slides here, just a little bit about why Strencom and VeloCloud, which is a VMware company. I guess this is the SD-WAN is the first really new thing to come along in wide area networking in probably nearly 20 years now, where MPLS has been the standard. It's really a lot of it being driven by the cloud services that more and more businesses are starting to adopt and better ways of connecting to that, and the guys in VeloCloud will go through that as we go on through the presentation. So why Strencom? Look, we're WAN experts. We've been doing this for nearly 20 years. We have quite a lot of different options for customers in terms of how much of a management wrap they want around it. We're a small company, and we get to know our customers very well. And every solution we do is slightly different. We're quite agile, and we respond to each customer's individual requirements. As far as the connectivity side go, well, we have wholesale agreements with pretty much every provider there is in Ireland and into the UK, and we also have relationships with global carriers for our customers that have international offices. Our ethos throughout the company, and this is from the engineers to the salespeople to everybody within the company, is we say we won't let you down. That's not to say that something will never go wrong, but when it does, we'll let you know about it. We'll tell you how quickly we can get it fixed, and we will make improvements to make sure it doesn't happen again. Luke, you want to just throw on the next slide there for me if there's one? So as I said, there's a few different levels of management that we can do for you. We call it standard, enhanced, and enterprise. And we'll send you these slides later and make them available for you. But it just depends, I suppose, how much internal resources you have and how much of it you want to hand over to someone like us to manage, and how much you can handle yourselves. So listen, I hope you enjoy what you're going to learn here. There's a small amount of people on it, so there'll be plenty of opportunity to to ask questions later if you like. And hopefully, coming out of this, you'll understand a bit better whether SD-WAN might be a good fit for your own business. So Luke, I'll hand it back over to you now.
Thanks, Dan. That was very insightful there. So just before we crack on with the webinar, I'll introduce myself. So I'm Luke Gascoigne. I'm the account manager for VeloCloud in the UK and Ireland. And joining me on the call is my pre-sales engineer, Giampiero Perino.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, Giampiero Perino here, part of the technical pre-sales team here at VMware covering the EMEA territory. So nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Giampiero. So we'll crack on with the presentation. First of all, we're going to have a look at what is SD-WAN and why our flavor of SD-WAN is particularly different from other vendors on the market. We'll look at the key benefits of the VeloCloud SD-WAN solution, the use cases, so when you should consider deploying SD-WAN and what benefits it will bring to your business, then the pricing and packaging, the way that we go to market with the product, and finally, we'll go into a VeloCloud Orchestrator demonstration, and we'll open it up to a Q&A session at the end. If you do have any questions during the presentation, then please write them in the chat box and we'll answer them as we go along. So what is SD-WAN? Giampiero would like to explain what SD-WAN is from our perspective.
Yeah, of course. So what SD-WAN is, right? Why SD-WAN is so important in today's enterprise network. So as we know, a modern enterprise network spans multiple branch offices, a variety of hubs, whether they are headquarters or data centers, and even isolated locations such as construction sites. Some limitations of this traditional approach are, first of all, there is an intensive and time-consuming line provisioning, as we can see. This could also mean going across multiple or hundreds of sites, configuring all the appliances in the network. Secondly, using MPLS resources for backhauling internet traffic. This results in a waste of MPLS resources that sometimes could be very, very expensive, leading to an inefficient way to access, especially cloud applications. And third, there is no unified management or end-to-end visibility about link usage, and especially about application performance in the network. So we develop Cloud SD-WAN solution, you will have an overlay able to overcome all of these issues. So first, no longer CLI. So the provision of the sites is done in minutes through a unique dashboard provided by the orchestrator. You can go directly from the branch site to the internet without wasting any more MPLS resources and having optimized access using our network of gateways. So we will talk about gateways later on. And third, you can leverage fast provisioning connectivities such as wireless 4G technologies with QoS capabilities, full control and visibility. So these are the one of the main points about why SD-WAN or the benefits the SD-WAN brings with the to your overall network.
So in summary, the SD-WAN solution is made up of 3 components. There is the VeloCloud Orchestrator, which sits at the overlay level. This is the management plane where you'll be able to set business policy for the whole of the business. And then we've got the edges, which sit physically or virtually at the branches or data center and also in the cloud. And finally, we've got the cloud gateway infrastructure that we'll touch on in a minute. Essentially, what this means is you'll have access to all of your traditional and cloud-based applications. You'll have global visibility over everything that's happening in the network. And you'll have the ability to make changes or define business policy from a centralized console and apply it to every single branch, data center, or cloud instances that you've got across the globe. So when we look at where we stand in the markets, there are some very interesting reports, and this is probably the most recognized report in the industry. This is the Gartner Magic Quadrant for WAN Edge Infrastructure. I'm sure some of you have probably seen this already. And we're expecting the 2020 version of the Gartner Magic Quadrant to be released next week. So it'll be very interesting to see where we come out on that. So we're recognized as the leader, and we've been recognized as the leader for the 2nd year running. We can share the report with you. It's extremely insightful and interesting to see the way that we're compared to other vendors. Essentially, the reason that we're considered the leader is because we have the most sophisticated and dedicated engineering team in the industry. That means that we're consistently developing our products to improve it. We have a second to none cloud infrastructure. So obviously with COVID, we've seen a massive increase in adoption of cloud, and we are the out and out leader when it comes to cloud positioning. And finally, with our acquisition by VMware 3 years ago, we are uniquely positioned in our ability to execute and service our customers. So we have extremely good support channels, and we're able to service all of our customers, big or small, in a very dedicated fashion.
So key features. Let's take a deep dive a bit more about the 3 main components of the solution. So look, I already talked about it. First one is the orchestrator. So the orchestrator is the component that handles the management plane. So it's a centralized dashboard where you can build your policies, where you can build all the configurations, and then these configurations are pushed into the edges. The orchestrator, in the orchestrator, we can also collect statistics data about, for example, what are the top applications, top devices that generate these applications. We have as well real-time monitoring, and you can develop as well your own monitoring systems and communicate with the orchestrator via API. Second, we have the VeloCloud Gateway. So you can think of a cloud gateway as a multi-tenant device deployed at top-tier data centers around the world. And these gateways provide control functionalities to the network, and they can be used as well to optimize access to cloud-based and SaaS applications, as well as interconnecting to non-VeloCloud sites or cloud security providers and public cloud environments. Gateways are a unique component in the SD-WAN ecosystem, and they provide easy on-ramp access to any cloud. Then we have the SD-WAN Edge. The SD-WAN Edge is an on-premise component that is installed within the enterprise branch or data center. The SD-WAN Edge can be provisioned either as a built-in physical appliance or as a virtual service over SXI or KVM platform. And it's that physical box connected to all the multiple WAN links that you have. So the SD-WAN Edge is the one who's recognizing all the applications. So it's able to recognize actually more than 3,000 applications, and it makes sure the end user gets the best of the application experience. So these edges are zero-touch provision. This means that all their configuration is received from the cloud and no technical personnel is required on site.
So we'll have a look at some of the key features now and really deep dive into exactly the benefits that we can bring for your business with our VeloCloud SD-WAN solution. So the first component that we're going to look at, the first key feature, is the simplification of WAN operations. So as we touched on before, traditional WAN will have intense CLI provisioning at the branch. You'll have a significant lack of visibility over what's happening across the network. And when you want to apply changes, you simply won't be able to do them either from a central position or with immediate response. So that the change that you're making will have to go through a process of implementation that will take time, and it doesn't really give agility to your business. So we'll start off by explaining the initial configuration. The way that you can implement or deploy VeloCloud is extremely simple. We call it zero-touch provisioning. And what we mean by that is that you won't either require any technical resources at the branch, and you won't need to do any CLI provisioning at the branch either. And it's as simple as plugging in a device. The device will call home, and the device will literally download or call home to the orchestrator and activate the business policy that you've defined from the orchestrator. Automated link discovery means that you don't have to worry about the performance of the links or whether they've been correctly assigned to the edge. You simply plug them in, and you'll be able to see that from the orchestrator platform that Giampiero will show you later. When it comes to performance management, you've got real-time link measurement and dynamic traffic steering. So QoE, quality of experience, is guaranteed. And you can apply business policy decisions to the links as and when you feel that's necessary. In terms of deployment, we can deploy physically or virtually depending on the customer's requirements. So the devices are purpose-built and deployable on hypervisors or UCPEs. And you can also deploy our edges on cloud marketplaces such as AWS or Azure. Google Cloud has just been implemented in that segment as well. So what that means is that whatever instances you have in the cloud, you'll have the same management capabilities that you would with any other site, branch, or data center within the rest of the network. And finally, day two operations. So the day-to-day running of your WAN becomes extremely simple. So that means reduced overhead, and you can also save some money or save some costs on training as well, because it's such a simple solution to run. The way that we provide benefits to our customers in day two operations is by allowing you to apply enterprise-wide business level policy, business policy to a management and business IT level reports as well. This is a quick snapshot of the global WAN visibility that we can offer. So Giampiero will show you this in a minute towards the end of the presentation. So we can provide application and network insights for ease of operations and a lot more. Basically, we can give you the opportunity to see what applications are being used the most, what their usage is, and also the domains or devices that are being used the most across your network. That gives you some significant benefits when it comes to making decisions of what applications you should be investing in, whether you should be looking more towards the cloud or more towards on-prem deployments of workloads. And it gives you the upper hand when it comes to defining the future of the business, when it comes to the applications that you use and the quality and suppliers of the links that you use for the network.
So let's talk now about how the VMware SD-WAN solution can assure application performance, right? So we can do this with policy-based application prioritization. So we can, in fact, improve application performance and reliability. And something that I want to point out here is that we are transport agnostic. So it doesn't matter if you have internal links, MPLS links, 4G wireless links. We're going to measure all the links, the performance of all these multiple links, and use them all in the most efficient way. So keyword here is DMPO. So what is DMPO? DMPO is dynamic multipath optimization. So it is our own group of on-demand remediation techniques that we use to improve communication across the overlay with a continuous link and path quality monitoring. So DMPO enables application-aware dynamic per packet steering, meaning that we are able to steer a single voice call across multiple links without dropping that call. So DMPO ensures as well optimal SD-WAN performance for the most demanding applications over any transport and any destination, whether they are on-premises or on cloud. On-demand remediation techniques include also error and jitter correction, automatic steering from brownout, blockout, etc. Next one, look, please. So this is an example of how Office 365 traffic can be optimized. So in this scenario, we have a single link with brownout conditions, and with the use of multiple links together with on-demand resolution techniques, we can achieve 10 times higher average throughput. So this is a really good use case of how the use of our gateways and the use of our DMPO techniques can optimize access to this specific sales application. Another example of how a video conference will benefit from the VMware SD-WAN solution. So using a link, in this case with a 2% packet loss, we can apply forward error correction and packet duplication in order to assure real-time applications such as voice over IP, in this case and video, be maintained with a high level of performance over the one link. So you can see as well, how the video looks like after the VMware SD-WAN services are applied. And as I said before, the SD-WAN edges have a DPI inspection engine. So this is a deep packet inspection engine able to recognize more than 3,000 applications. So we classify all these applications in different categories: real-time, transactional, and bulk. And then according to the business policies, we can give each one of them a priority, so high, normal, or low. So with all of this information, we can build our own business policies, and the SD-WAN Edge is able to decide which is the most suitable link for every traffic according to our policies and based on what the application really needs.
Thanks, Jean-Pierre. So we'll have a look at the way that we approach cloud adoption. We have an approach that sets us apart from the rest of the vendors in the market. And that's due to the fact that we have a global infrastructure of cloud gateways which sit either at the same data center or very near the data centers where cloud hosted applications are based. This means that regardless of your cloud strategy, whether that's a multi-cloud, full cloud, or if you've got a fully on-prem strategy, it really doesn't matter. The SD-WAN solution will adapt to whatever your strategy is. Obviously, the adoption of cloud has seen some significant increases with the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're uniquely positioned to allow for migration and integration of cloud applications to your network. So we'll have a look at the cloud gateway infrastructure that we have. There's over 2,000 gateways strategically positioned across the world. These are high performance edges that we have, as I said before, sitting very close to or actually in the same data center as cloud hosted applications. That's due to the tremendous relationships that we've built across the year, over the years with Microsoft, AWS and Google. So they basically allow us to position our devices in their data centers or very close to their data centers. And it essentially gives you an on-ramp to the cloud. So when one of your branches wants to access a cloud application, your edge sitting in your branch will create an IPsec tunnel straight to the closest gateway. And that will give you as Giampiero said before, up to 10 times improved bandwidth of cloud application access. Reliability is 99.99%, which is as close to 100% as you can get essentially. And it also offers cloud scale redundancy as well.
So when it comes to security, there are multiple ways in which we can provide security in our solution. There is end-to-end segmentation, there is security VNF, and there is cloud security. So we're going to touch each one of these points. So end-to-end segmentation. So network segmentation, it's kind of similar to VRF is for MPLS. It allows an organization to separate application traffic in the network. So you can separate users or assets belonging to different security zones. Some of the common examples or some of the common use case for segmentation include, for example, separating guest traffic from corporate traffic and isolating credit card transactions from all other traffic types. So we're able to provide end-to-end segmentation in a centralized way, making it scalable, easy to manage, and cost-effective. Each segment is treated as a separate configuration entity, having its own set of cloud VPN, its own set of business policies, firewall policies, and QoS configuration elements. So for example, you can have a segment for your finance department, and a segment for your marketing department. And these two segments could have different business policies. For one, I don't know, maybe Facebook is forbidden in one segment, while in the other segment, maybe for the marketing one, Facebook is a high priority application. So you can have this level of flexibility and this level of segregation to improve security between assets and between users or between departments. Other feature we're able to provide is the integration with cloud security providers such as Zscaler or Symantec into the SD-WAN solution. So we can build policies that can identify the traffic that we want to go across these services. And this is the way in which we can leverage our gateways for direct communication to cloud providers. So the edge can send traffic to the cloud gateway through the overlay tunnel and have all the benefits of DMPO that we just saw in a minute. And this means like traffic steering, ring remediation, etc. And then the cloud gateway can create an IPsec tunnel, a single IPsec tunnel to these cloud security providers such as Cloudware, Fortinet, such as Zscaler, such as Symantec. And this provider can terminate the communication, and you can have a really scalable way to provide security into your network. We have another way to provide security with a third-party firewall. This means that our SD-WAN edge boxes have the ability to host a VNF, a virtual firewall for services from 3 different vendors. And you can combine these security features from your preferred vendor to our SD-WAN services, everything in a single box. Your SD-WAN services from SD-WAN, from VMware, together to security features from your preferred security vendor. Next one, Luke. Okay, so our SD-WAN edge actually do have a built-in firewall. So this is a layer 7 stateful firewall, able to provide application-aware firewalling capabilities, and is managed centrally from the Orchestrator dashboard. So you don't have to rely always on third-party vendors. You don't have to rely always on third-party cloud security vendors. You can also have the integrated SD-WAN firewall, and you can also have all these capabilities: centralized management, enhanced visibility for auditing, templatized security, stateful on session, and you can also export all these, log information about firewall activities into an external log server if you want.
So we'll have a look at some of the most common customer use cases now, as we put yourself in the position where you're going to be considering implementing an SD-WAN solution. So we'll have a look at the most common use cases. So we'll have a look at the customers that we've recently acquired, and essentially run you through their story and why they chose VeloCloud SD-WAN as their preferred SD-WAN solution. So State Farm managed to improve their over broadband. They essentially ripped out all of their MPLS lines, and actually managed to see that their performance improved, even ripping out MPLS and replacing it with internet. That's mainly down to the dynamic multipath optimization and cloud gateway access that they were provided with the SD-WAN solution. And that's for over 6,000 agent offices in the United States. Secondly, Milan, custom closer to home for most of us, I guess. So the French tire manufacturer managed to increase their agility and service delivery. They deployed it to all of their major locations. And one of the key drivers for them was their adoption of Office 365. So with the VeloCloud solution, they managed to rapidly deliver services such as Office 365 across all major locations in a matter of months instead of a long period of implementation. The other thing that Milan came back to us with as positive feedback was the fact that because they had all this granular detail provided by the solution in terms of what's happening with the links to what performance issues they're seeing, they managed to go back to their telcos and basically put them into competition. They had the historical information of what had happened during the past years in terms of they were promised one thing and the telco delivered another. So they managed to get the upper hand or a little bit more leverage over their telcos and also save some money by getting them to compete against each other for their business. So that's another strategic way that VeloCloud can help you in your business decision making and the way that you conduct your business with telcos or other partners. Collaborative to the core, they saw a 10% revenue growth. The way they saw this revenue growth was essentially their time to market was significantly reduced. They're a very agile organization, so they pop up stores very quickly. They previously had to rely on the likes of AT&T to essentially deliver MPLS lines or other sort of connectivity to their sites, and it was taking them too long. So what they did instead was deploy VeloCloud, and the devices were sent to the sites. It would get there in a matter of days, and they'd plug in a 4G dongle to that device, which allowed them to connect straight to the network, connect straight to cloud applications, gave them the visibility and control that they were missing beforehand, and that gave them a 10% revenue growth simply from the fact that their time to market was dramatically reduced. The other aspect that they touched very, very diligently upon, and the feedback was very good with this, was the simplification of operations, and they didn't lose any control by bringing that simplicity down. Finally, we've got Brooks Brothers. So this is a fairly standard or typical use case, which is that their MPLS contracts were up for renewal, and they were actually on a rolling contract. So they were really looking to save some money on their expensive MPLS lines. So essentially what they did was they replaced MPLS with broadband across all sites. So they only had MPLS links within their data center to absolutely critical sites. But for the majority of their 500 global locations, they replaced MPLS with internet, and that gave them a 25% cost reduction, including the cost of the solution. So that's some pretty dramatic and compelling use cases there for you to consider. I'm sure that there is a lot of resonance between what I've just explained there and what you're seeing within your businesses. So we'll have a look at the pricing and packaging of the solution. This is to give you an idea of how it actually comes together from a commercial perspective. So the first thing to look at is what average throughput have you got at each of the sites. So we can provide devices from 10 megs up to 10 gigs, and this really depends on where they're being deployed. If you're looking for a data center grade device, you'd probably be looking at the Edge 34 or 3800. However, if we're discussing implementation for a branch, you're probably looking at anywhere from an Edge 510 to an Edge 610. So, 100, 200 meg range. So that gives you a lot of flexibility. We have devices prepared or ready for any sort of use case that you may want. So you might want to deploy the 500 series for branches and then the 3800s for the data center. We can absolutely help you scope all of this. Secondly, we've got 3 editions. So this is the software component of the solution. We have standard, enterprise, and premium. 70% of our customers choose the premium edition, and the reason that is because it gives you access to the global network of gateways. So, if you have cloud applications, if you've got instances in the cloud, such as Azure, AWS, you will really want to leverage the gateway infrastructure that we've got, and that comes with a premium edition. You can mix and match, so you might have some sites that do require access to the cloud gateways and some sites that don't. So you can have some sites on enterprise edition and some sites on premium edition. So it really depends what your specific needs are on a site per site basis, and that gives you the ability to control costs. So the premium edition is a little bit more expensive than enterprise, but as I said, you can mix and match. So it really depends on your specific needs. Standard edition, never sold it myself, so I won't really touch too much on it because, as you can see, it's missing all the functionality that our solution has to offer. So we'd strongly recommend not even considering the standard edition because it really doesn't do justice to the solution and the benefits that the solution can offer our customers. So thanks for your attention there. What we'll do now is we'll actually show you the solution itself. So Giampiero, if you don't mind sharing your screen and showing everyone the VeloCloud Orchestrator. So this is the management platform. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Luke. So I'm going to share my screen now. Let me know if you can see my screen, please.
Yep, that looks good.
Okay, cool. So this is the orchestrator. So just to have a review, this is the component that handles the management plane. So this is where you can see, you can have the visibility of your solution. You can have, you can apply your policies. You can apply configurations. So when a user logs into the orchestrator, this is the first view that he has. So he has like an overview look about how the edges are deployed geographically. So you can have, this is a virtual lab, right? So we have some virtual devices deployed. We have, for example, in this case, one topology composed of 3 different branches in London, Madrid, and Milan, and 1 hub in Berlin. And so we can have a bit of better understanding about how these edges are deployed geographically. So we have as well a network overview. So we have a look at the overall picture of the network. So how many edges, how many links each one of the edges has. We have the status of each one of the sites, HA, meaning high availability. So remember that we are able to provide multiple devices in an active standby way. So improving and having redundancy in that case. Number of links. So for example, in this case, Berlin has 1 link, London 2 links, Madrid 1 link, Milan 2 links. Doesn't matter if these links are MPLS or internet, we consider them as links and useful for communication. We have as well the number of edge with DNF, firewalls, active standby pair, non-VeloCloud sites, so how we can connect to non-VeloCloud sites using our gateways, and the number of profiles. So this is very important to automate deployment. We're going to touch this a bit later on. So if we take a look at, for example, Milan Branch, we can see what's going on specifically in this site. So we can see in this specific case, Milan has 2 different connectivities. We have 1 internal link and 1 MPLS link. We can see cloud status, VPN status, the interface to which these 2 WAN links are connected to into the SD-WAN edge. And one of the good things about using the gateways and about using the these out-of-the-box features about VeloCloud is that you don't need to configure any internet-based connectivity. So if you have a WAN link on the internet, with the use of our gateways, so thanks to our gateways, we're able to recognize the public IP address that you're using, and we're able as well to recognize which kind of ISP you're using, because we know this public ISP to which ISP belongs to. So you will see here, this is a virtual lab, of course, but you will see here in a real scenario, the name of your ISP with the public IP address that you are using without setting up anything, so without any further configuration. Below you can see the top applications that this site is generating. So there are some YouTube, Office 365, Ubuntu, top operating systems, in this case Linux. I just have a virtual Linux machines open, and some top categories. If you go to the Q&A, so this tab, it is very, very important, very helpful. This tab gives you how well or how bad your underlinks are performing. So you can see below these 2 links, internet and MPLS, and how well or how bad these links are performing on the last period of time. So we can have this information over the last 12 months, so over the last year. And above, we see how the SD-WAN or how the end user experience will be after the SD-WAN services are applied. So we can see a really, really improvement, a huge difference between one score of 6.37 and set 7.62 to a 9.89 overall score. And if we hover the mouse, or we put the mouse over any time slot, we can see what kind of issue this in this specific time slot the network was facing, what kind of on-demand remediation technique the edge used to mitigate that issue. So this is a good example. We can see here that a downstream jitter measured at 34 milliseconds, and the edge enabled jitter buffering to mitigate the issue. It was not only the issue at this time slot. We can see as well that there was another issue with packet loss. Upstream packet loss measured at 0.30%, and edge enabled forward error correction to mitigate the issue. So from this, in this specific time slot, we see that this specific issue was faced by both links. And at the end, with the SD-WAN services, with the forward error correction and with the jitter buffering, we were able to get a good parameters in latency, jitter, and packet loss after these techniques. This is all within the DMPO framework of techniques that we have to optimize and to improve communication. We have this in different traffic types, so voice, video, and transactional. For video, should be a bit worse because video is more sensible, of course. For transactional traffic, it should be a bit better. Yeah, it's almost good. So if you go to transport, we can see as well the different analytics of both links. So we have internet MPLS. We can see here over the last period the bandwidth of the links. We can see here total packets received and sent, latency, packet loss, everything that's going on with our links. And one of the most helpful things in here is that start flight monitoring, this button. If you click here, you can see real time the traffic that is crossing in this moment the VeloCloud edge. So we can see, this traffic. I think this is a YouTube traffic actually based on TCP, UDP, ICMP, or other protocol. And we can see, well, this is very helpful when it comes to troubleshooting something on the site, when it comes to knowing what's going on every site, how much traffic is crossing each one of the lines. So you can see, we have some traffic on the internet side. We don't have any traffic on the MPLS side. And this is really, really helpful, again, for troubleshooting purposes. We're going to stop this. I'm going to go to applications. So this is where you can have good visibility about the application usage on the network. So again, the edge has this DPI engine able to recognize all these applications. So you can see all the applications that are being used on your site. So YouTube, Office 365, Microsoft Outlook, Reddit, Google Ads, GitHub, all these applications, how many bytes received and sent. So the usage actually on the application. If we click, for example, in YouTube, we can see as well what kind of links did YouTube have been using for going out to the internet. In this case, it's been using only the internet link and not the MPLS link. What are the devices that are generating this application, top devices that are generating this application, and as well top destinations, so where this traffic is going to, right? So you can see this as well by domain, by FQDN, or by IP. So this should be all, IP of the YouTube servers where this traffic is going to. If we click top devices, we can see as well, we can have a drill, we can have a really visibility and drill down which is exactly the endpoint that is generating this traffic. So we can see, we can, add the name, put it, any name. We can see the IP address, the MAC address, and even the operating system of the endpoint generating this traffic. So this is really, you can drill down as much as you want to have a really good understanding of what's going on in your network. So this is more or less for the visibility part. Let's go to the configuration. So configuration, we normally recommend using profiles. So profiles are like a way in which we can automate deployment. If you have some standard sites, you have maybe some US-based sites or EMEA-based sites, or you have some standard sites, maybe a couple of them are using some routing protocol, others are using other routing protocols. So you can have these profiles. Profiles are like templates, and all the modifications, or all the changes that you do in a profile, all these changes will then be applied to all the edges that belong to this profile. So it's a really good way to improve, let's say, to simplify and to automate deployment. So let's go to the branch profile. We can see here the segments. So segmentation again is the way in which we can segregate traffic. So we have only one segment. We can have multiple segments here. You could find a global segment that is, this is the default segment. You can see as well, I don't know, maybe guest Wi-Fi segment. You can see as well PCI segment, corporate data segment. If you go to the device, this is the core in which all the configurations take place. So you can have authentication settings, DNS settings, NetFlow, LAN site NAT, syslog, and this is the way in which we can, let's say, build the overlay topology. So this is the way in which we can tell all the branches which is going to be the hub. So for example, in this case, we select Berlin as the hub. This means that all the branches are going to build static overlay tunnels to the hub. We can then enable the branch-to-branch VPN. So our solution can work either as a hub and spoke or also as a full mesh topology. So we can have branches talking to each other directly or talking to each other via the hub or even via the gateway. So we can use our gateways as well as a middleman between the branches, the communication of the branches. This is the way in which we can also build IPsec tunnels to non-VeloCloud sites. This means that gateways can also be very helpful to integrate non-VeloCloud site to the SD-WAN fabric. Let's take, for example, I don't know, maybe a legacy data center, or maybe a third-party site, or maybe any other site that for any reason you don't want to put an SD-WAN edge on there. So you can integrate this site using the gateways with a single IPsec tunnel from this, making this site reachable from the SD-WAN fabric. So this is a good way, to simplify setup, to have only one single IPsec tunnel without and having all your SD-WAN sites communicating to this site without having to go to each one of the sites and implement and configure one IPsec tunnels to each one of the sites. We support as well OSPF BGP settings, either on the LAN or on the WAN, depending on, how your site, how is the architecture of your internal sites. We can integrate, for example, with layer 3 switches or routers, and we can, have BGP peerings or OSPF areas. This is the way. This is actually the VLAN. So this is how we can also configure from the physical part. We can, we can create VLANs. We can integrate as well from the layer 2 perspective. We can have a NAT port, a trunk port. So we can have all of these, layer 3 routing and switching compatibilities as well on the SD-WAN edge. Let's jump into the business policies. Another feature really, really important here. So as Luke and I were saying before, we have out of the box predefined set of business policies. So one of the good things about this solution is that you don't have to create and to think from scratch what are the business policies, what are all the business policies that you need for your enterprise. So this solution by default comes with all these set of business policies. They are good enough. I've seen many customers using this set of business policies. Of course, if you want to create your own one, you can do it. So you can create a new rule. You can select, for example, which kind of application or which kind of rule you want to implement. So you go, for example, to, I don't know, I want to optimize Office traffic. So first you have to match the traffic either by the source, destination, or application. So you can select the application, of course. Look at the set application that you want to match in this case, and then you can give it an action. You can have how well or how bad you want to treat this specific application. In this case, we can give it a priority of high priority. You can rate limit, so meaning that you are going to use this application until, I don't know, maybe 20% of the link, maybe 30%, so you can do that as well. You can decide when to use gateways or not. And this is a very, important thing, because you can have, okay, you can decide maybe this application will benefit from the use of gateways. So I'm going to select multipath in here. Maybe because this application is I don't know, maybe it's a non-critical application, maybe it has a low priority. So I don't want to waste overlay resources in this application. So you can select direct. This means that this application is going direct to the internet without using the gateways. Link steering, so you can have some preference over the links. So if you have multiple links, either internet or MPLS, You can also have preference. So you can select, for example, this application will only be using the public wire links, or maybe public wireless links, or maybe the private wire, so MPLS. So you can have these different, configuration and express some preference over the multiple links that you have, either as a mandatory, preferred, or available. And that's it. This is how easy it is to implement, a new policy in our solution. And remember that we are in the profile. So as soon as we save changes, in a couple of seconds, all the edges are going to have, all the edges that belong to this profile, of course, all the branches are going to have these business policies automatically. So all the branches are gonna, from now on, are gonna prioritize Office 365 traffic, are going to send it direct, not to the overlay, and with a high priority. So this is the way in which, how easy it is to implement a business policy in the SD-WAN orchestrator. Firewall as well, so very, very similar to how business policies are made. You can also create new rules with the firewall. So you can, for example, I don't know, maybe we want to block YouTube traffic. So I'm gonna look at YouTube traffic, the YouTube application, because I don't want, maybe you don't want your users to be using YouTube traffic in of your branches. So you go here, look at YouTube, select dropped, log it if you want. So you can you can receive log information from all of this activity from the firewall into some external server that you might have. And okay, and save. So from now on, all the branches are going to be forbidden to use YouTube. So this is pretty much it. I don't want to, I want to leave time for some Q&A. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. And if you have any question, please, feel free to ask anything you want.
Right, thanks very much, Jean-Pierre and Luke. Great presentation, very, very detailed. Thanks so much. I'll open it up now for any questions. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask on the back of that?
Yeah. Hi.
Oh, hi.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Yeah.
Just wondering if you have any comparison sheets with, say, Cisco SD-WAN or any other vendors.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. So what we can do is we can send you some information or some documents that we have, which essentially compare ours or our solution to our closest competitors. Do you just want that for Cisco, or would it also be beneficial for other vendors as well?
Absolutely, like the say the four market leaders, if you had it, or something like that. So I guess we're looking at I was going to say Cisco SD-WAN,
yeah,
Silver.
Yeah, of course, we can do that.
Excellent.
Yeah. If you guys can send that to me, and then I can forward that on.
Yep, absolutely.
The other question I have, and the main challenge we have a lot of rural sites with very bad connectivity and no fiber in some places. And while this offers a huge performance uplift, how do we see that in a site, let's say, for example, that has a T1 connection at 1.45 or 54 megs and a wireless, and say a not very reliable wireless? So this would be in the US,
yeah,
in a very rural location. We've quite a few of those.
Yeah, well, actually, that's one of the use cases for SD-WAN, because you could have your T1 line for example, your business critical application, because that line should be the most, say, stable one. And you can use the wireless one, the wireless link, together with the T1 for all the applications. And the SD-WAN edge will have will be in charge of, monitoring both lines at the same time. And depending on, how, let's say, which ones are your business critical applications, the edge prioritizes applications is going to select the best, let's say, wireless link or T1, depending on which one is the best, which one has the best performance at that given time slot. So this is like a really good use case. So you can have, you know, a stable T1 together with maybe some not so stable wireless link, and the edge device will be the one who's going to select, you know, the best link according to, you know, the performance at any given time slot and the application needs. So if you have,
Perfect.
for example, I don't know if this, you can also select how much of these wireless links you want to use. For example, normally these are material, you know, technologies, and you don't want to use a lot because, of course, you have a tot of gigs, maybe a tot of megs. So you can also, you know, configure this way in order to not to use more than, you know, you are allowed to use on the wireless link.
Excellent. Thank you.
No worries.
That's great. Is there any more questions here, or is everything answered there? Okay. Do you have a question there, Eileen?
No, just saying thank you. I don't have.
Listen, that's great. Thanks everyone for joining today. I'll finish up now a couple of minutes early. So thanks again to Gian Piero and Luke for the presentation today, and Dan Croak as well. And thank you for everyone for joining. I will forward this recording on to everyone who joined today so you can have a copy of it. And any questions in relation to the SD-WAN solution, please come back to us here and we'll be able to discuss further. And I'll also get that detail over in relation to competitors over to you as well. So we'll get that.
Thanks, Dermot. That was...
Okay.
Thanks very much. Very
Thanks,
beneficial.
everyone. Bye now.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good day. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.